Ring will will do it, as you can cast in the upkeep. Yeah, it was a weird spot actually where if you hit the right cards off Expressive Iteration, you actually won there on that turn as Stefano still. So you had to hit something of gas off the board there for Matea, and finding Days Undoing there off that Narset activation actually did lock up a game that was almost there, but could theoretically have been lost still, which I think also shows just how good this prowess deck can be, right? If we didn't missequence that one turn with, the volcanic land, and if we didn't, sort of, excuse me there, get a little bit unlucky with the second Finding Days Undoing, we could have turned that corner pretty effectively.
So like when moving to sideboard in Formatea and knowing we've got this proactive prowess deck, we got things like Flage in the sideboard.
Mm-hmm.
Would you love to Lightning Helix a Monastery Swiftspear or two, or are you leaning more into the lock play with some of the pieces like High Noon there?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm definitely bringing in Flage. I mean, that's one of my favorite Magic cards, and in this sort of matchup, it isn't perfect. It can actually get overpowered a fair bit, but it is really good at just being sort of a bridge spell, like on turn 3, answer something like a Slick Shot, gain you some life back. But you want, I think, that along with High Noon, right? Bring in both of those cards. High Noon is so effective in these sort of games. And then, your main deck is actually pretty good at picking apart these kind of things. So just trim on some of your more clunky cards, right? Go down like a Teferi, even though it's part of a lot of locks, you don't need a bunch of it. Your Supreme Verdict, you can actually go down on, right? They go pretty wide, but 4 mana is a lot of mana. Try to get a High Noon and prevent them from getting to that point. So I think we're going to see a lot of trimming here, but a lot of the same sort of shape of deck presented in game 2, just with a couple different, hate cards along the way. And that's what blue-white control tries to do here.
Yeah, believe it or not, the haters will hate us for saying this, but we might even just keep Get Lost in. Like I think that's still a useful removal spell when thinking about the threats that are on board. You don't really want to play long as the Izzet Prowess player, but you certainly want to be able to keep a threat up against what is going to be coming the other way. So when you're looking towards Prowess's sideboard, you're looking for what 1 mana protection spells or like counter spells I can play to be able to stop them from removing my things. So we've just seen, Spell Pierce is there, another great opposite option. Mystical Dispute again is going to stop some of the blue stuff coming through. We probably don't need to pick your poisons in this particular case, but you may want to bring them in if you feel like you're going to go long in turn 3. But yeah, you just want to get game 2 over done with now that you're on the play and get yourself over the line.
Yeah, Mystical Dispute, Spell Pierce, like you said, pretty great in this sort of spot. I've seen some people, leave in there Unholy Heat as a way to fight over Narset or Teferi. I don't hate it. I think generally with the sort of prowess deck, you mostly want to sideboard very lightly. You want to present a very similar game plan game to game. Your deck's pretty streamlined. You want to be proactive. You don't have a lot of room to deviate a ton. You can play a bunch of different game plans, but you sort of need to kind of keep the core of your deck very similar here. So I imagine we're going to see that counter magic come in and then sort of just try to prevent a fast, quick clock here and kill this blue-white control player before they lock us out of the game.
Well, I hope we don't see it. I don't like when people take the greedy line of I'm going to bring a lot of counter magic in and I'm going to try and bring the surgicals in because I want to try and snipe the combo pieces away. I just don't think, as we keep talking about, that's not how you win the game. That's how you just stop losing the game. And Prowess is the one deck in Modern that is a go out there and win the game deck. And Stefano's at 5-0, so they've won 5 games, so they know how to do it. And a place you start with Prowess is turn 1 Monastery Swiftspear, get in, and the clock is ticking.
Yep. Mold of 5 here for our blue-white ready control player. Got
That
a
is what you
Flage
love
in
to
hand,
see.
though.
Yeah, you love to see it. But Flage in hand is also a really handy pickup, especially if you don't see much development from this Swiftspear. Like
Oh, one land on the Swiftspear there, Dave. Sorry to you in the middle
I
of it all.
know. But you know what this was. I can almost sort of call this as the Pirates player. This was I've got a cutter. I've got
Yeah.
a Mishra's Bauble. I've got a Spell Pierce. I've got all the pieces. I just need one land, and this is where
Yeah.
This is where the magic gods do not help you out.
Yeah, Dave, you call it that, and I call it a bad keep. I can also call it. This is one of those things that we see so often from prowess players. They keep these hands that are greedy when they don't need to be. Your deck is about efficiency and casting spells. If you can't cast spells, your deck is not good. So this sort of hand is gambling the game in a way that, if I gave you examples from other decks, you would say, obviously, I wouldn't do that here. As Matea could have even gone, Ormchant here on the upkeep and stop Stefan and then gone into a Flage and then bring back a Flage in the next turn. Looks like we're going to take a bit of a slower approach, but if you can't cast spells, I don't care how good the other two cards in your hand are. They need cast spells as well. You much rather mull to 5 as this deck and have, Corey Steelcutter, Expressive Iteration, 3 lands than 1 land Swift Spear. And it's showing right now as Stefano is honestly basically lost this game already. He needs to
Yeah,
rip land, 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 or it is over, and it's lost on the mulligan step. I love that from Matea, untapping. Hey, maybe you won't attack me. Okay, you'll attack me. But
and
yeah, I mean, it's over. You just can't
yeah,
win
that
here.
that obsession to hold up 1 blue mana, but also to maybe get your Corey Steel Cutters down. I think from what we can see, there was a Corey Steel Cutter, there was a Slickshot Show Off, there was also a Spell
A
Pierce, and
surgical, yeah.
yeah, and I think that has just as you say, it's just baited Stefano into the one land keep, and we've all been there. I've been on that side of things, and yeah,
Hmm.
unfortunately, yeah, you have to take your medicine sometimes. And of all decks, prowess will rescue you go into 5 as long as you see like a preordain, and your DRC helps you filter through. You don't need to be as scared as it as people necessarily are. Whilst Matea's like progressed here to 4 mana, as we know, the Flage is there and has been cast and has just cleaned up your board. Yeah, this might. Still going to be a control game, so we're still got to get to a point where Matea stops Stefano from playing, but I think that will come sooner than it did in the last game.
Yeah, and I wonder here too, we're fetching, we have 4 cards in the yard. It's so clear Stefano has a surgical. If you're Matea, right? Like you're just like, oh, you keep looking? What could that be for? Right? Maybe it's dreading the doom coming, you could see it that way, but we should probably see, okay, we didn't surgical in response. I mean, maybe I missed all the card in hand there. But yeah, once you let that surveil resolve, you don't have priority anymore. So a misstep here from our prowess player, I think, if we let the surveil resolve because it goes to the yard and you instantly can bring back the Flage. So, I mean, it does look like there's some communication between these players about kind of what's happening. But yeah, Matea's going to bin any card. I mean, that top card could be Ancestral Recall, and you're going to bin it, right? Flage is just
Yep.
going to win the game versus prowess. And when your opponent's stopping you every 4 seconds to look, you know, that is a spot where it's like, you know, hey, we got this here. Now, game's going to continue on, and Stefano, luckily for him, does have a handful of spells. So if he ever does draw lands, he can present some threats, but
Yeah,
we'll have to
they,
see
they
what's going
seem
to
to have
happen.
they seem to have let them have this. They seem to have like
Yeah.
rewound.
And this is one of those weird spots too, right? Where it's very easy to like have like a small miscommunication. These players maybe even know each other too, right? And so it's a spot where you're playing against a friend or an acquaintance, and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't really give you a chance to respond to my trigger. That's on me. So we'll have to see here how it all plays out. But yeah, we get to also see what in the deck can actually beat us, as we will at home with coverage as well. And it looks like we are on just the locks now, from what I saw in the first flick through of the deck. We still have the ability to Ormchant, we still have the ability to Days Undoing, but we have no other proactive win conditions, it looks like, outside of decking.
Yeah, that might have been the situation where like you've surgicaled for the Flage, like hoping that they've taken a certain game plan post board, and you might have had the information you wanted to see, but you also might now find out that, oh yeah, I still need to be scared of the lock pieces, or I now need to think about a certain way of playing. But when you've just still only got 1 land, it's a long way back from here, and yes, Get Lost, Wrath of the Skies, Orm's Chant, and a guy who's reached Sanitarium. Love that land, and is going to start doing work as soon as we get things like Narset down. We still didn't draw a land. We did draw a Bauble, if that changes things at least. So a
Instantly
Bauble,
draw.
a
Ooh,
Bauble.
Solitude.
Oh gosh. I feel the feels go out here to Stefano because not only are you, is it not running? Although there we go. We've had a land. We've got a land. That's good. That's good. We've
Yeah,
got a land.
you have the land and you do have Corey Steelcutter. So you have something you can play into this Solitude, right? The one good thing about seeing the Solitude is you kind of know whatever play you make, you're making it into the Tude. So you get to kind of play accordingly here.
Yeah.
Looks like we maybe want to bait the Solitude onto this DRC, using the word bait liberally here.
You're happy. You're happy to take this, I
Yeah.
guess.
It's like, okay, yeah, I'll kill your DRC, man. I'm sure you have something, but
Yeah, I think he's questioning like the hard cast, but yeah, once you have the mana right here, I don't know why you wouldn't.
yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing so often as, personally, since the release of MH2, I think I've registered Solitude in almost every single event I've played outside of a few Amulet Titan situations. And you are always like, oh, I hate that I have to evoke this. Like you want to hardcast this because so often the advantage bar goes whoop in your favor. 3-2 lifelink is actually pretty frustrating for a lot of modern decks to beat once you're sort of attrition them to death. As here comes the Scepter, and I think we have an Orange Chant in hand that we've been holding on to since like turn number 2.
Yeah, some responses from Stefano. Trying to figure out, look, if I spell pierce it. This is the spell pierce that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and just conceding. Yeah, he's like, yeah, you've got this. I'm never gonna get to play again. If you played yourself, then whatever. But I think this is a really good moment for everyone at home here. Is it Prowess is a deck about efficiency, and this goes for standard as well, where Prowess and the Is it variety is very good. You
Mhm.
want to have 2, maybe even 3 lands in your hand a lot of the time. You do not want to have 1 land, and that goes for burn too, right? If I cast a bolt every turn, it will take 7 turns to win. That's really slow, even in modern, for a control deck. They can win before turn 7. So you have to have multiple lands. I know it can feel bad to mold to 5 or whatever because maybe your 6 had nothing, were all lands. But keeping hands like that is just going to end up in sadness a lot of the time. But we've all been there before.
So Mateo goes to 6-0, and we're going to be taking off to a break because we've got some great coverage still to come from rounds 7, 8, and 9. Please can join us on the other side of this for more action from the winter tournament here from the 4 Seasons. I'm Dave Jones. This is Lee Mason Clark. We'll see you back shortly with more action and hopefully more lands this time.
Yes, indeed.